The United States government spent billions of dollars, imposed sweeping tariffs, and rewrote the rules of North American trade. All of it was designed to bring manufacturing home. All of it was supposed to strengthen America. Instead, it built Canada. Before going deeper, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. It helps us reach more viewers who want real analysis on what's shaping the global economy. Lafayette, Indiana, early 2025. A factory floor that once hummed with the sound of Japan's most beloved automobile, the Subaru Outback, goes quiet. No press release, no dramatic farewell, just machines powering down and production lines falling still. Jeff Walters, Subaru's president and chief operating officer of America, makes the announcement that insiders had feared for months. The Outback would no longer be built there for Canada's market. That production was moving back to Gunma, Japan. And just like that, the first domino fell. This is not a story about one factory. This is a story about the most consequential industrial migration in a generation. And it happened not because Japan was defeated. It happened because Japan got tired of waiting for Washington to make sense. Dear viewers, to understand the full weight of what is unfolding, you have to understand what the automobile means to Japan. This is not a product. This is national identity forged in steel. Vehicles account for more than a quarter of everything Japan exports to the United States. Roughly 8% of all Japanese jobs are tied directly to the auto sector. When you place that industry under threat, you are not pressuring a corporation, you are pressuring a country. And when you pressure Japan long enough, Japan does not break, Japan redirects. The pressure began with tariffs. Under President Trump's administration, vehicles produced in Japan and shipped to the American market now face duties as high as 49%. Steel, aluminum, finished vehicles, auto parts, all targeted, all taxed. The cumulative damage has been staggering. Analysts estimate Japanese automakers are absorbing losses of approximately $25 billion every single year from American tariffs alone. Toyota carries nearly half that burden on its own shoulders. Read that again, $25 billion. Every year, gone. For individual suppliers across Japan, the consequences are not abstract, they are existential. Workers face layoffs, small manufacturers face closure. As one supplier described it with quiet devastation, survival now depends on endurance, not innovation. That single sentence tells you everything about what Washington's policy has actually produced on the ground. But here is where the story pivots. Here is where Japan's strategic patience reveals itself as something far more powerful than any tariff. The first layer of this strategy was Subaru's decision in Lafayette. When Washington imposed its 25% tariff and Ottawa responded with its own matching 25% counter tariff on American-made goods entering Canada, Subaru's cross-border manufacturing model became mathematically impossible. A car built in Indiana and sold in Canada was being taxed twice. There was no margin left, there was no logic in staying, so Subaru did not stay. It moved, and in moving, it sent a message the entire industry understood instantly. The company cut its imports from the United States to Canada by more than half in a single year, dropping from 26% to just 10%. That is not a minor adjustment, that is a declaration. The second layer changed everything. Because Subaru's retreat was not an isolated decision, it was a signal, and Japan's industrial giants were watching. Toyota, Honda, Mazda, Mitsubishi, one by one, they began redrawing their maps. Supply chains were repositioned, research hubs were relocated, production facilities shifted northward, not towards Washington, towards Canada, not towards uncertainty, towards stability. Industry analysts began describing what was happening with a phrase that would have seemed absurd just 5 years ago, a northward migration. Japan was not retreating from North America, Japan was choosing a different North America entirely, and Canada was ready. This is not a coincidence. Canada has spent decades building exactly the kind of environment that multinational corporations dream about in an era of trade wars. Steady policy, open borders, a skilled workforce, and crucially, through the CPTPP free trade framework, a direct tariff-free relationship with Japan that completely bypasses the chaos in Washington. While the United States was building walls, Canada was building bridges, and now those bridges carry $25 billion worth of redirected Japanese investment. Translation, every tariff Washington imposed became a gift to Ottawa. The numbers confirm it. Japanese automakers have invested more than $14.6 billion in Canada. Since 1993, Canada has become a net exporter of Japanese-made vehicles, sending over 5.2 million cars to global markets. Ontario alone hosts 7 Japanese auto plants, 5 producing light vehicles, 1 building engines, 1 focused on trucks, supported by a network of suppliers and logistics firms that sustain 30,000 direct jobs with thousands more connected indirectly. Cities like Alliston and Cambridge, towns that once depended on American factory contracts, are buzzing again, powered by Japanese capital, powered by long-term planning,
powered by trust. And what happened next reveals everything about the true cost of Washington's miscalculation. This pattern has a historical echo that Washington apparently forgot. In the early 1980s, President Reagan introduced voluntary export restraints on Japanese vehicles, a policy that functioned like a 60% tariff, capping imports and choking competition. The intent was identical to today: protect American automakers, strengthen domestic industry. Japan responded then exactly as it is responding now, not with retreat, with strategy. Honda established a major plant in Ontario in 1984. Toyota followed in 1986. Economists at the time called Canada North America's industrial backdoor. Vehicles built there bypassed American import restrictions while keeping production on the continent. Japan won, Canada thrived, and America watched. 40 decades later, history is not repeating itself, it's accelerating. Because this time, the stakes are incomparably higher. This is not just about sedans and SUVs, this is about electric vehicles, battery supply chains, clean energy infrastructure. The minerals that power the next century, lithium, nickel, cobalt, are now flowing through a new industrial corridor connecting Asia directly to Ontario and Quebec. Japan's electric vehicle supply chain is merging with Canada's growing battery and mineral ecosystem. What was once a contingency plan for Japanese automakers has evolved into the backbone of a clean energy alliance that stretches across the Pacific. Toronto, long known as a financial capital, is transforming into a nerve center for export management, logistics, and automotive research. European and South Korean automakers are watching Japan's playbook and following it. The northward migration is no longer uniquely Japanese. It is becoming a global template for how serious manufacturers navigate an era of American unpredictability.
Economists are calling it a structural reset of global trade. Canada, once considered a secondary player in the continental manufacturing hierarchy, is becoming what analysts now describe as a bridge economy: stable, open, and increasingly indispensable to both East and West. Every tariff wall the United States constructs opens another door for Ottawa. Every time Washington turns inward, the global supply chain learns to route around it, and that detour ends in Canada. Every single time. This is not defiance. The companies leaving American soil are not doing so out of hostility or ideology. They are leaving because unpredictability has become the single most expensive cost in modern manufacturing. And Canada, through decades of quiet, consistent, principled trade policy, has made predictability its greatest competitive advantage. Analysts now use a phrase to describe what is happening. They call Canada the silent winner of protectionism, because every act of American economic aggression has, paradoxically, expanded Canada's industrial footprint. The tariffs meant to restore American greatness have instead authored Canada's. Dear viewers, this is the deepest irony of the Trump tariff era. The policy designed to force foreign companies onto American soil has instead accelerated their departure from it. The $25 billion Japan loses annually to American tariffs does not evaporate, it redirects. It flows north. It builds factories, employs workers, funds research, and cements alliances, just not on American ground. And the ripple extends far beyond automobiles. If this migration continues at its current trajectory, the next waves will arrive in electronics, renewable energy, and high-technology manufacturing, industries where policy clarity and regulatory consistency matter far more than proximity to any single market. Global investors searching for stability in an age of trade wars are increasingly finding their answer north of the 49th parallel. Canada does not beg for investment. Canada does not chase corporations with subsidies and spectacle. Canada simply remains steady. And in a world destabilized by Washington's volatility, steadiness has become the most powerful economic force on the continent. Japan charted this course. The world is following. And somewhere in Washington, the architects of this tariff strategy are watching the very manufacturing renaissance they promised America materialize just across the border. Canada doesn't just watch history, Canada shapes it. What do you think of all this? Tell us in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. See you in the next one.